According to multiple reports, the Toronto Blue Jays are interested in Tim Anderson, who's having a bit of a down season in Chicago. But man, has he had a good track record in the major leagues. He's great against lefties, and he's a good veteran leader. So we'll break down that and much more in this episode of Jays Digest. What's up, Jays fans? I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, alongside host Nick Gosse. Another nail-biter of a game yesterday for the Toronto Blue Jays, but they finally squeaked out a win against the Seattle Mariners, and they actually split the season series, believe it or not. So that was good to see, and thankfully they came out of there without a sweep against themselves. But today we're going to be talking about Tim Anderson, who is having a down year by his standards. His power has totally been sapped out of that bat, but he is a good veteran leader and is very good against left-handed pitching, and someone that the Jays could be targeting at this year's trade deadline.
Yeah, the deadline is about a week away. It's on August 1st, and the rumors are going to continue to swirl, especially for the Blue Jays, because they are going to be buyers, and they continue to play fairly well. They're going to continue to want to make moves, but make sure to hit the subscribe button. We're on the road to 7,500. Let's just get right into it. This dropped about an hour ago. John Morosi, notable, Blue Jays and MLB reporter, went on MLB Network and said the Blue Jays have interest in Tim Anderson to play second base for them. And then Lewis, of course, quoted this saying, 56 WRC plus in the year. Is he playing injured? And Peter, I have a bunch of stats and statistics for him as this year, his track record in the past. What are your initial thoughts on a potential Tim Anderson to Blue Jays trade, highlighting the fact that he is, if he gets traded, going to be playing second baseman? It almost brings me back to the Whit Merrifield trade. They have some similarities there, both having down years. Obviously, Tim Anderson's a little bit worse, but what are your thoughts on a potential Tim Anderson reunion? Not reunion, but a potential, merge there.
It's interesting. It's definitely very interesting. And he's still someone who is hitting lefties pretty well this year. He's got about a 330 batting average.
Really good.
Against
800 plus OPS.
Which is good. Yeah, but 700 OPS on the year against lefties. So the power is not there. He gets on base at a pretty decent clip, plays good defense, and he's a pretty good base runner as well. So definitely someone that fits the mold of the Toronto Blue Jays, but he would be more of a part-time player in a sense. I think he would play only against lefties, and then Whit Merrifield would slide over to left field for Dalton Varsho or for Kevin Kiermaier, for someone like that. So I don't think he would play a huge role unless he becomes the old Tim Anderson that we all know, and the one that was an all-star and 20-plus home runs with a ton of power. He's not that guy anymore, unfortunately, but the Jays could buy low right now. They could get him for maybe one major league player and a prospect, and that would definitely be something that I would be open to if I were the Jays, because it's an upgrade over Santiago Espinal.
Yeah, and the White Sox are definitely going to be sellers, and that's the big thing. Again, I mentioned a similarity to the Whit Merrifield thing, where it's going to be, a platoon to start, and Whit obviously took over the job this year, but looking at his stats, and there's some some similarities here to, Whit in a way, but he has been a really, really great hitter, realistically, since 2019, and he had some phenomenal years there, multiple-time All-Star, and like you said, he would probably only play against lefties at least to start, but if he could maybe get in a rhythm and get back to what he was, maybe in a winning environment, could also change his mind. There's been some rumors that he doesn't really like playing in Chicago as much. Who knows the validity behind that, but he could be someone that plays against lefties. You take out Varsho, who struggles in general this year hitting, or Kevin Kiermaier, one of the two, because your defense, you wouldn't really be sacrificing too much there because you have two elite center fielders. And then you put him over at second base, and he has mashed lefties this year, like you said, not for power, but he would be an upgrade over Santiago Espinal, Kevin Biggio, and the other options that we have right now to Platoon. And that's what we need to make, not necessarily the huge upgrade that one Blue Jays fans might be looking for, but it would be a very important one towards a World Series or at least playoff aspirations.
Yeah, definitely. And he's someone that has experience, someone that could definitely help right away and take some of the pressure off other guys like Dalton Varsho and Kevin Kiermaier, and maybe give them a break every now and then, because those guys are playing pretty much every day, and it's taking a toll on their bodies as well. You want them to be healthy when the playoffs come around. But he's someone that you can get for cheap right now because he's got a pretty hefty contract on him. He's got a club option for next season, but at $14 million. And the production that he has right now, it's not worth $14 million. It's probably worth something in the 6 to 7 range. So I don't think the Chicago White Sox are going to pick that up. They're not going to make the playoffs. They're not going to compete for the World Series either. So why not trade an impending free agent and try to get someone with club control back and maybe a prospect as well? So Espinal fits that mold, and maybe a mid-tier prospect as well will get it done.
It really makes all the sense in the world. I hadn't really thought of it before. It makes all the sense in the world. The Chicago White Sox, they should trade Tim Anderson at this point. I think a change of scenery would be beneficial for both teams. And it's kind of a, fits the mold of a player the Blue Jays would kind of go for, at least from previous deadlines. Someone who's definitely buying low, like you said, and like it's in the thumbnail there. Santiago Espinal makes total sense. Plus, like you said, a prospect maybe in the 15 to 20 range. But it depends on what the market is. But some other thoughts on this. A post-deadline of Tim Anderson, Addison Barger / David Schneider, and a random pitcher would be acceptable. Again, he has a 111 WRC plus against lefties this year, which is very, very interesting. But I'm kind of all for this at this point. I don't really see a negative in it at the very least because you're not really giving up a major prospect. Probably less than what it took to get Whit Merrifield last year, or very, very similar. And maybe Santiago Espinal, if he's involved in the package, would be a good change of scenery for him as well, so he can get some more playing time because he's really not doing a whole lot for the Jays right now, not even against left-handed pitchers. He hasn't hit them very well at all this year.
Right, and we got to remember as well that Whit Merrifield is an impending free agent.
Yeah.
So when he leaves next season, if Tim Anderson comes here and performs well, you could pick up that club option, and you got a pretty decent all-star second baseman for pretty cheap, and that would definitely work out well as well. I do think the Jays want to retain Whit Merrifield because he's got a lot left in the tank, and he's one of their more important players. But if he does walk at season's end and he gets a multi-year deal from someone else, you got Tim Anderson in your ball club, and you can. That's not someone bad to fall back on either. So it's definitely that aspect as well. You could look at it for the Blue Jays, and it makes total sense. They do need someone that hits lefties very well, and if Tim Anderson can find his power again, it might be one of the best deals at this year's deadline.
Similar to the Whit Merrifield one, which at the time didn't seem huge, but it ended up being a steal. And like we said, it's not like he's never shown power. He's never had crazy power potential. But like you said, he had 20 home runs in 2018, 18. If he gets back to even 10 to 15 home run guy, he could be a very, very intriguing player there. And looking at his baseball savant this year, again, who knows? He could be playing injured. He could just be unmotivated, not really enjoying the White Sox. Who knows what it is? He has not performed very well at all this year. But again, if you're the Blue Jays, this almost benefits you in a way because this is a guy who, if he was performing, one, the White Sox probably wouldn't be trading him. Two, the Jays wouldn't really have the assets to one to trade for a guy like this. But he doesn't have power, and the Blue Jays do need some more, or at least in theory, want to add a power bat. But maybe they add Tim Anderson and add another, bench power bat at this point. May as well just go all in. But I love the idea, and I don't know. I think the Jays could definitely get it done because I'm not entirely sure. I mean, any team would really like to have Tim Anderson to a degree, but I think it makes the most sense out of the Blue Jays compared to some other teams that are shopping as well.
Yeah, and he sounds like a Blue Jay already. Someone that doesn't hit home runs. So
Yeah.
I'd love to have him, and I'm sure Guillermo Martinez would be enamored with Tim Anderson on the team.
Yeah, very, very interesting. But that'll wrap up the video. A very interesting rumor. And again, these rumors now are going to start to come to fruition pretty soon because 1 week from now is a trade deadline. And we're going to have you covered for everything regarding that. And hopefully the Blue Jays can win a very fun series starting tonight in Los Angeles against the Dodgers. That'll wrap it up. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.